Hello everyone, meet me in Pragmatic and Semantic course. Today we're going to discuss about politeness and interaction. Let's see the picture. We have a man and his girlfriend on a lunch date. From their utterances, automatically you can decide that the girl is impolite compared to the man's utterance. On the contrary, you also know that the man is impolite in terms of his attitude. I believe that you're all familiar with the concept of politeness. Well, what we're going to discuss now is politeness from the perspective of linguistics. So, what is politeness? Here we have several definitions of politeness. From experts, the first one comes from Lakoff. Politeness refers to appropriate behavior in particular situation in attempt to achieve and maintain successful social relationship with others. Second, Brown and Levinson defines politeness as a communication strategy to maintain and develop relationship. Third, we have Holmes who define politeness as taking account of the feeling of other. Last definition comes from Yu. He sees politeness as the means employed to show awareness of another person's face. To conclude, politeness equals to verbal essential for successful interaction. From definitions of politeness, we know that politeness has something to do with feeling of other. This is what we call face. So, what is face? The concept of face is derived from the notion of government and English people, which is related to the idea of being embarrassed or humiliated. Since face is something that is emotionally invested, can be lost and maintained, a speaker has to pay attention to hearer's face. Face has been defined by some experts. Brown and Levinson defines it as the respect that an individual has for him or herself and maintain that self-esteem in public or private situations. This definition is similar to Yule's and Renkema's. So to make it easy for you to remember, face equal to someone's public self-image. And face must be recognized and not to be interfered with. Let's jump into the concept of face. There are two kinds of face. There are positive face and negative face. Brown and Levinson define positive face as the desire of every member that his self-image, wants, and opinion to be liked and approved. Now let's compare the first and second example. In the context of Mary giving comment to her neighbor who loves rose gardening, the first example shows that Mary gives compliment in order to support her neighbor, likeness of roses. Meanwhile, in the second example, Mary shows her dislike toward roses, which may cause unpleasant feeling for her neighbor. In other words, in the first example, Mary tries to maintain positive face of her neighbor, while in the second example, Mary does threatening acts toward neighbor's face. Now, let's go to the negative face. Negative face refers to desire of every member that he has freedom of action, as well as freedom of imposition. In the first example, Susan's mother used interrogative form in order to give option to Susan about when she's going home. In this case, Susan's mother tries to maintain the negative face of Susan. Meanwhile, in the second example, Mom limits Susan's freedom in terms of curfew hour. It is shown from the use of modality must and specific time before 9 p.m. This is what we call face threatening act. Based on those examples, let's define face threatening act. According to Brown and Levinson, face-threatening act refers to acts that threaten either the negative or positive face of the hearer. Yu also comes up with the similar idea. As a speaker says something that represents a threat to another individual's expectation regarding self-image. Some acts that can threaten positive faith, such as dissatisfaction, criticism, complaint, disagreement, accusation, insult, boasting about speaker, raising divisive topics, bringing bad news about hearer. All these acts indicate that the speaker does not care about hearers' feeling or wants. For example, disagreeing with someone's opinion also causes a threat to his positive faith, since you indicate that he is wrong about something. Meanwhile, threat towards negative faith takes forms such as order, request, suggestion, threat, warning, expression of negative emotion, asking hearer to promise, borrowing hearer's money. Take for example, in borrowing money, speaker is considered threatened that person's negative faith, since he has violated the hearer's want to be free from being imposed. Our next question is, how politeness is related to the intensity of the threat to face. Here we have a formula W equals R plus D plus P, in which W refers to weight related to face-threatening act, R equals to the rate of imposition, D refers to social distance between speaker and hearer, and P equals to the power that hearer has over the speaker. Based on this formula, we can conclude that face-threatening act is affected by three factors. They are rate of imposition, social distance, and power. Let's see the first and second example. Both have the same meaning but represent different relations. The first utterance can be found in a student's question to his teacher. Here, the speaker used the term address to show respect, as it means there is social distance between speaker and hearer, and speaker's dominant power over hearer. In contrast, speaker used nickname to address the hearer in the second example, to show close social distance between speaker and hearer. There are some theories related to politeness. However, in this material, I will focus on Brown and Levinson politeness strategies. Here, I will order from the most to least threatening strategies. First, we have bold on record, and then positive politeness, negative politeness, and off record. To help you to understand kinds of politeness strategies, you can see the example of how to get a pen from someone else that is taken from you. There are several things that a speaker can do. The first one is by saying nothing. The speaker can search in a bag instead. Second is by saying something. Give me a pen. Here, the speaker does bold on record and ignore the hearer's face. Third, involving face-saving act. Speaker can employ positive politeness by saying, "Hey buddy, I would appreciate it if you would let me use your pen." Or, speaker can use negative politeness by saying, "I'm sorry to bother you, but can I ask you for a pen or something?" Bold on record. Whenever the speaker wants to do face-threatening act with maximum efficiency more than he wants to satisfy the hearer's face, he will choose bold on record. Here we have some circumstances of doing bold on record. First, speaker and hearer are in an urgent situation such as asking for help. Second, risk to hearer's face is very small, such as asking a waitress to bring a menu. Third, Speaker has higher power than hearer, such as giving comments in military. Positive politeness is aimed to satisfy hearer's positive face by approving or including him as a friend or member of the group. In other words, emphasizing closeness between speaker and hearer. It can be seen as a solidarity strategy. Linguistically, it includes personal information, nicknames, abusive terms, and slang expression. This strategy is also used to give impression that speakers want what hearers want in order to minimize the face-threatening act. Next, speaker can exaggerate to show intensified interest to hearer. It is shown through intonation, stress, and intensifying modifiers. If positive politeness aims to minimize the social distance, negative politeness is used to indicate social distancing. In other words, the speaker is aware and respects the social distance between him and the hearer. Moreover, using this strategy speaker assures that he doesn't disturb hearer's freedom of action. It is done by not showing off, being formal, and restraining himself. If speaker do a face-threatening act, he will minimize the threat by using apology and hedges. If a speaker wants to do an FTA but he wants to avoid the responsibility, he can do it off record and leave it up the addressee to decide how to interpret it. It can be done by violating Grice's maxim, something that we have learned in the previous meeting. If you see the example, the speaker says something that is different from what he means, and hearer must find meaning intended. Well, that's the end of our material about politeness. See you in the next material. Bye-bye.